Hey yo, what's good y'all, it's Stinger, and today I will be showing each and every one of you how to make some crazy triplet beats for Little Baby that sound a little something like this. Alright, so the first thing I threw down for this beat is this Mandolin from Omnisphere. Originally, when I started this beat, I wanted it to be some kind of Eastern ethnic type of beat, so I went with the mandolin. But as I progressed in making the beat, it kind of strayed away from that style. So as always with my tutorials, I'll just play the melody and break it down piece by piece. Alright, so the first thing I did for this melody is I laid down a bass line going from the 1 to the 6, back to the 1, to the 6, and then to the 5. This melody is in the minor harmonic scale, as are most of my beats that are going for some kind of dark and sinister sound. The minor harmonic scale just does the best job of achieving that sound. After I had that bass line laid out, I just threw on some basic triad chords, but I offset them a little bit because I didn't want the rhythm to be super standard. And after that, I threw some accent notes on top of those using triplet notes. A triplet rhythm is a rhythm in which you fit 3 notes into 1 step. So usually your hi-hats or any other rhythmic components are 2-step, meaning goes 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. But for triplet notes, you can only fit 3 in that step, so it goes 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. With these kind of standard Lil Baby type beats, he likes to integrate triplet notes in the melodies and drums a lot, which we'll be getting into later. So here is the first basis of our melody. Kind of simple, but it gives us a lot to build off on. The next part of the melody that I threw down is this Mystic piano from Analog Labs. If you've been watching my recent tutorials, you know that I use this piano in pretty much every single one of my beats. I just got Analog Labs like a month ago, and I found this sound like a couple of weeks ago, and I freaking love it. By far my favorite piano so far in any VST. It's not realistic by any means or measure, but I just really like how it sounds. So here is the pattern that I have it playing. For this melody, I have it playing the same chord progression as the first melody, but I threw in some triplet accent notes. For these accent notes, I started off on the 5th of the first chord and then just kind of spiraled downwards from there. When it comes to counter melodies or leads, I like to base them off of the 5th of the chord that I'm working with at the moment. I've just found that that is the easiest and best sounding note to build melodies off of. So for the first section, it's pretty repetitive, except I add in this little phrase at the end to differentiate it from the rest of the melody. And then for the second portion, I just take that first portion and pitch it up an octave. Alright, the next melody that we have laid down is this Flute from BBC Symphonic Orchestra. And this is what that sounds like. This flute melody is kind of unconventional in the sense that I'm building it off of the bass notes of the chords. Usually for me, that's a no-no when building counter melodies. I want it to differentiate from the root notes, but for this, I just like the way that it fit with the original melodies. I also made use of tension notes, which are notes that are 1 note away from each other in the scale to get that kind of tense yet resolute sound. Next thing I threw down was a pad from Omnisphere, and if you've watched my tutorials before, then you could probably guess what pad I use. As always, I'm using the Agape Warmth pad from Omnisphere, and it's just playing the original chord progression. Yet again, using BBC Symphonic Orchestra, I laid down these bass strings. This melody is only playing on the intro and bridges of this beat because it's a little bit abrasive and also a little bit offbeat. So this is what that sounds like. For this, all I did was grab the root notes of the original melody and made a rhythmic pattern with some transition notes in between. And as you can see, we're also making use of those triplets yet again. I forgot to mention, but in order to snap the grid to tension notes, you just go to this magnet up here and hit 1/3 beat. And then as you can see, it lines up with these triplet notes now. And the next melodic component is the Winter Sun preset from Arcade, which is just playing these vocals. For me, if I feel like a beat is missing anything lead or melodic wise, I throw in some vocals from Arcade and just seals the deal on the melody. And the final component of the melody is this sub bass from Serum. Something I've learned recently when it comes to bass lines is you really don't need to just stick to the root note of your melody. Some good notes to use as transitions are fifths. So this note right here is a fifth, and the way you could get it is you just take your root note and pitch it up by 7 semitones. So our root note here is B, and I just use shift and the arrow key to pitch it up by 7 semitones. And boom, there you have it. So with all that together, this is what the melody sounds like. Alright, so now that we've got the melody done, let's move into the drums. First thing I laid down was the 808, and I'm following the root notes using a triplet pattern. In the 1,000 beats that I've made in my lifetime, this is probably the only one that I have used a triplet note pattern with my 808s. So it was cool to try something new, and this pattern really does give it a little bit of swing. And the next thing I laid down was a kick to follow the 808 pattern. After that, I threw down a clap playing a basic pattern, as well as this accent snare with some rolls at the end. I forgot to mention that most of the drum sounds in this beat, excluding a couple of snares, are from my Hive stash kit, which you can get for free in the link in the description. Alright, so the next thing I laid down was this hi-hat playing a basic triplet pattern. I didn't like how it sounded just playing a basic triplet pattern, so to make it more interesting, I threw in effectrix with some reverse notes as well as some filtered notes. Next, I threw down a good old open hat on the downbeat. So with that being said, this is what all the drums sound like together. And now that we know what the drums sound like, this is what everything sounds like all together. Alright, so that is going to pretty much cover how to make a crazy triplet beat for Lil Baby. Hopefully you enjoyed the tutorial and learned something new. If you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer them. Also, consider subscribing as I post 4 tutorials every week, 2 short ones and 2 long ones. Other than that, that's going to be it. Peace.